Alright, here we got the Tippmann 98 Custom. We're going to show how to disassemble it. What we basically need here is just the Allen wrench. Right here's a couple of screws right here on the side of the body. I'm going to disconnect those. These help take out the power tube on the inside. Okay, now we'll press the front sight post. Allows us to flip down the feed neck, which will just slide right off towards the rear. Okay, after that, we'll go ahead and take off the screws that are holding the foregrip on. Set that aside. Pull out the foregrip. Go ahead and disconnect our barrel. Just twist and pull out. Alright, next we got a couple of screws right here at the bottom of the ASA bottom line. We'll take those out. If you'll notice, they are actually of a slightly different size. The long one's going to go more towards the rear. Okay, once that's disconnected, we'll remove the couple screws from the grip handle. And then right in front of the trigger guard. Then right up against the sight post. Once that's done, you can separate the two receiver halves. And just come straight up. Be very careful not to lose anything. Some things will fall out. Okay. As a matter of fact, something did. Okay. Alright, right here there are two square nuts, and that's where those two long screws in the bottom line go in. Right here is your front sight post, and it's tricky because there's a spring that holds it in place. See if I can show you. You can kind of make out there's a big curve to it, and then the part that kind of comes up at a 90 degree. Oh, get back in focus. Here we are. Right here at the end needs to go on top. The big curve goes towards the front of the marker. Alright, the rear back plug will just come straight out. Careful. The drive spring and the drive pin will come out with it. You can take them out if you like. Madman Kit can replace those. Make sure that you just keep your drive pin inside the spring. When you put it back together, notice that it goes in the center hole of the back plug. Now what we'll do is we'll take out the rear bolt. You can kind of get a look here. Alright, see, here's the pins actually for your trigger system. Notice that there's one right in the center, two right there. Notice that the sear goes between these two, and then notice there's two that the trigger guard goes on. So what we're going to do is remove the trigger guard, or I'm sorry, the sear. Notice how there's a little nub right here. It's kind of hard to see in the video, and I'm sorry. Oh, that's a good picture. The trigger spring is going to go on that nub when you put it back together. Alright, that nub should be facing down and forward. Alright, we'll just pull out the cocking handle. Remove the rear bolt with the linkage arm. Rear bolt and the front bolt. Rear bolt is basically a solid block of piece except for the insert, which kind of helps keep things light there. You want to make sure clean it when you put it together. You got to make sure it gets lined up. Kind of see right there. Alright, we're going to take these pins out now, along with the trigger. Notice that the trigger goes on the front two pins, these two holes right here. There should be no need to remove this cap. I've never heard of it needing replacement. And we'll just take out all the pins. These pins are all the same size, so as long as none are bent, you should have no problem getting them in the right place. Alright, now we have another pin that goes right where the front sight post was. Make sure you separate that one. That's what keeps it pivoting. Then the power tube comes out. Generally speaking, you don't really need to change the air hose or the bottom line unless that's specifically what you're upgrading. I would just leave it just like that. Now you can clean it out, do your polish the internals, throw it in water, whatever you want to do. Make sure you just clean it. So to reverse though, see right here there's a little post off the side of the power tube. Alright, if you look here, there's a hole in the receiver. I'm going to line that up. Make sure that gets seated down in there. I'm going to place our trigger kit springs, or pins. Place those in. Remember, our trigger goes on the front two pins. It just goes all the way down. Maybe tricky to clear it through the power tube. Alright, once it's seated, there's a good view there, see, two front pins. We're going to take the sear. Again, remember that nub goes down, it's going to go on the rearmost pin on the oblong hole. Okay, here's a good look. Alright, remember that nub? We're going to place that spring on the nub, and then the other end into the cradle, right here. Be very careful. At this point, things can start to fall away. That's bad. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll take our front bolt, connect the linkage arm to the rear, make sure the hole where the linkage arm goes in is facing the rear. Notice the bend in the linkage arm. It also goes towards the rear bolt. Slide the whole thing back and push the whole thing in so that it seats. Okay, so you notice how the sear is actually kind of coming up behind it. If you're not careful here, you're going to cause everything to fall apart. Alright, here's our ball detent. There's a little cup here. There's the bulk of it and then the cup. So what you want to do is make sure that it goes into the seat right here. You'll have to actually squash the cup down because the front bolt will push it down. Make sure the cup points towards the rear. So as it moves up, it's actually pointing towards the front of the marker. Alright, we're going to take our cocking handle. See there's a hole in it. We want that to line up from front to rear. Remember our drive spring and pin. We'll place that in the center hole of the back plate. Place that right through. If it doesn't work, make sure you turn the cocking handle. See there's two grooves or two ridges here. I'm going to put them into the grooves in the back of the receiver. If you don't properly place that, you could have velocity issues. Alright, we're going to put our two square nuts right here in the bottom of the grip. Alright, we'll place our front sight post pin and the spring. And again, remember that there's the part that has the big curve, goes towards the front of the marker, The 90 degree that still lies flat, then the 90 degree that points upwards when you put it in. The part that points upwards should be towards the top, right there. Okay, it's kind of hard to see in the video, sorry guys. So we'll put the front sight post on there, and we'll bend it down. There's a little hole that takes that little vertical piece. And what you do is you just click it down and then seat it down into that catch right there. Be very careful because this can pop out. Alright, so what we're going to do now is get our trigger guard. Generally we want everything on the receiver half that everything's going into. So we're going to, if it's in the left receiver half, we'll take it out and put it into the right. Now the whole thing just goes straight down. You may have to wiggle it a little bit to make sure it gets put together right. But if you did everything, it should just go smoothly on. Now all you got to do is get your screws put in. I generally like to get the center screw, helps hold everything together, because then I'll flip it over immediately and then put in the two right receiver half screws. These will hold the power tube in place. If you don't do this, what will happen is your whole marker will come apart right inside. Your valve won't go in, or will come apart. Your washer and your O-ring will get displaced. It's generally just not a good thing. Now we'll finish placing the rest of the screws. My next one that I like to do is the front sight post. And I'll tighten this down. Do not go too tight. Oh, back in focus. Do not go too tight, because if you don't, that front sight post won't compress properly or won't retract properly. You want it to come up. And then we'll go through the grips, screws. At this point, you're pretty much well set into making sure that things are not going to come apart. Get back in there. Okay, once we're done, we'll keep going. Almost forgot what screw we're dealing with. Okay, put in our foregrip. Yeah, I did the wrong one. Put the wrong screw in the wrong place. Okay, remember our longer and shorter ones for our bottom line? Okay, so we're going to line that up. I'll put in the rear usually. Make sure that lines up with the hole. Make sure the front one lines up, and that helps at least stabilize it from side to side. Couple turns on each screw will help ensure that it stays in place. Once you're done, you'll take your feed neck, put it right here, and you'll slide it forward into the catches. And the whole thing will just flip up, and it'll catch on the front sight post. Notice if you press it, the whole thing falls away. Just should catch. Alright, so if that doesn't come back up on its own, just loosen that screw right there by the front sight post. And next, we will go ahead and put our barrel in, and that's pretty much all you need for the 98 Custom.